て、それではお時間となりましたので、これよ
Thank
り
you for
STO が
waiting.
開く
The
不動
next
産市場
session
の未来を
will
テーマに
start.
パネルディスカッションを行ってまいります。
STO and the future
ま
of
ずはじ
real
めに
estate
パネリストの皆
market.
様ご紹介させてください。
Introduction of the panelists. Please welcome them from Nomura Holdings Senior Managing Director, Deputy Head of Future Innovation Company, Mr. Chuzaburo Yagi. The next panelist, Mitsui Fudosan Solution Department, General Manager of Solution Planning Department, Inter-Academia Collaboration Department, Mr. Shunichi Yukawa.
続きまして TMI 総合法律事務所
From TMI Associates Law Firm Partner Attorney at Law, Mr. Haro Narimoto.
続きましてセキュリタイズジャパン株式会社
Executive Vice President of Securitize Japan KK Country Head, Mr. Eiji Kobayashi.
最後にモデレーターを務めていただきます
Our moderator for this panel, Head of Fintech Promotion, Support Fintech Innovation of KPMG, Mr. Masayori Shoji.
さて、それではここからの進行は庄司様に
I will hand over the microphone to Mr. Shoji.
皆様今日はよろしくお願いいたします。
Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for coming.
自己紹介及び事業の紹介
I will invite a brief introduction
まず湯川様
and a brief introduction about the respective activities. May I ask Mr. Yukawa?
三井不動産の湯川でございます。本日はよろしくお願いいたします。
Hello, this is Yukawa of Mitsui Fudosan. Very happy to be here today. Today's theme is how the real estate market, leveraging STO, transform itself in the future. Today, in various fields, digitalization is speeding up, and the real estate market is no exception. So today, being expected to become an issuer, I am here participating in this session. At the outset, I would like to say that I have a rather neutral position towards STO. It has potential for the future, but I think at the same time, this requires us to be more cautious on several different points. However, today I am here to talk about the expectations of STO and what timing we should expect the STO to become more popularized. And here I prepared a slide titled Revitalization of Nihonbashi. Our core or main business is towns building, and this venue is in Nihonbashi area. Various properties are bringing different people, and as a result, it vitalizes the town. That is the basis of our business. To be more specific, for example, if it's a office building, it has the cutting-edge facilities catering to large companies, all the way to different properties more suited to small enterprises. We also have hotels, top-tier large hotels to small hotels. We have posh, very expensive restaurants to more casual dining facilities. By having a wide coverage of these different establishments, we'll bring in a diversity of people, including foreigners, and this, I believe, contributes to revitalizing the city. However, if we look at this from real estate investment, what is invested in is limited to large commercial facilities, shopping centers, and restaurants. So the slide is showing the kind of small establishments that we should be supporting, historical places, small casual places. These are very valuable in providing content to the town. But currently, there's no mechanism that brings in investment for these establishments. I think STO enables making small investments to be made. Therefore, these establishments can benefit from such investment. That is the first expectation I have of STO. The second point is that technology is not something to be taken lightly. We may be excited that it brings about things that we were not expecting. About 30 years ago, mobile phones first were introduced. They were large, heavy, and I believe it cost dozens of thousands of yen. We would wonder who would use this thing. Perhaps it was people in the finance sector with large income. It could be lawyers or maybe politicians who are always busy. Anyway, we expected that executive type of people would be using the device, but actually it was this kind of people who adopted the cell phone. It was farmers actually. They live in a world with no payphones. They have to manage vast lands with no means of communication. Unexpectedly, these were the first type of people who adopted the technology. And we are expecting similar things to happen in the real estate market. So just now, I mentioned two expectations. Perhaps viewers, an audience of this session may want to hear something else. It's already included in the J-REIT, the investment-grade properties that are large, such as these office buildings, shopping centers, and rental housing. In order to securitize these properties, a mechanism called STO is actually something large companies is considering using. I think that's the one area of interest of the audience today. We are engaged in various verification and validation, but listed REITs, private offering REITs, today cannot be replaced by STO. We still do not see enough benefits of replacing them with STO. Today's REIT is an excellent mechanism. It's functioning well in the market. However, in this wave of digitalization, we should not expect that it would not come to the real estate market. It's impossible. At some timing, we must respond to this trend, digitalization. And one meaningful, useful method at that timing is STO. The timing for change, at that time, we would like to be part of a rules development, and we need to be well prepared so that we may respond to it well. I think that is key. For the STO to penetrate, we believe the major players need to enter into this space. And when these large properties, investment-grade properties, are involved in STO, I think that's when it really takes off.
Thank you, Mr. Yukawa-san. Mr. Yagi next. Thank you. I am in charge of innovation promotion at Nomura Holdings. I am Yagi. Thank you for the opportunity. Our engagement with blockchain, by way of that, it would be my brief introduction. In 2015, that was the time when the terminology fintech started to attract attention. As the group of Nomura, for the first time, we established a dedicated office, Financial Innovation Office. Activities started from the following year. From the beginning, we did pay strong attention over blockchain for Nomura itself to be speedy in the development. That was not easy. And therefore, in the following year, Village, which is a strategic subsidiary, this was established in order to conduct blockchain-based research. At the same time, through investment activities in the area of blockchain, we wanted some partners to co-work and started to build networks. Finally, in September of last year, blockchain-based technology to transfer rights, Boost Tree, it was established. In March of this year, NRI, the digital bond was issued, and as of July, together with Kennedix, Sumitomo Mitsui Trust and Bank, backed by real estates. Digital security was issued, and we were happy to be involved. Just one point I wish to convey to you. By the use of blockchains, traditionally it was the direct finance market, but going forward, this will continue to expand. There is the issuer and the investor. There is a direct finance that directly connects the parties. But in that case, the participants are limited in that market, I think. But man, money and material, people, asset and money. I have this triangle diagram, and there's a little triangle in the middle. This is the current direct financial market. In terms of people, those who wish to acquire capital, most of them were listed entities. In terms of the finance, money, of course, financial return was the main objective, and therefore high net worth or investors. And as for the goods or the asset, today's topic, including real estate, a property was one of the leading asset, and just like REIT, investment trust, only top quality properties were traded in this way. And therefore, the traditional direct financial market only had limited participants. But now, as of today, people, asset, money, man, money, and material, there are actions to eliminate the stagnation. For example, outside Japan, equities of unlisted companies, private equities, are popular under the coronavirus. A purchased type or donated type of crowd funding, it is increasing and also increasing in Japan. In terms of money, capital, there is the privileges given to shareholders. Non-monetary return can be provided to funds who like that entity. As for the goods, for example, there are arts like pictures, joint ownership of arts, and through these small lot ownership or investment, sometimes goods or these kind of assets are sold out immediately. What is happening? This means that the participants are diversifying and still diversifying, and the return is also becoming different and diverse, not only money. This is indeed because of the blockchain with a trusted counterpart. Diverse values can be exchanged for diverse returns in exchange. So for that purpose, blockchain is the most trustworthy technology. So each and every piece of the need might not be large, but by working on each and every small use case, the possibility of security token can be expanded. Thank you for your attention. Thank you. May I invite Mr. Narimoto? Thank you. Tanimoto, TMI Associates Law Firm. This is my profile. I became attorney at law in 2000. I am engaged in a lot of areas, but my area expertise is real estate and finance fund. From around 2017, prop tech, property tech, and property crowd funding, these became my major business, and more recently, a security token is my core business. As rather than extension of ICO, it is like the securitized or the asset finance and the small lot to be tokenized by corporates. In that sense, it is a security token. If you hear the word security token, some might envision extension of ICO, or you would think about asset-backed like properties as of topic today. It may be unclear, but it is the asset-backed type of security token that I am working on. Next page. Rather than talking about my law firm, there are 3 points I wish to discuss. Real estate times security token, a multiplication or a combination. What you are all trying to do, there could be lots of ideas and possibilities. But people have different ideas, I suppose. I thought maybe these could be the high-level classification, or it might be my personal wish list, and these are the 3 categories. The securitized instruments and the security token in that sense, I think the market, I hope it will be larger than the REIT market. Again, it's a wishful thinking. I'm sure there's a huge possibility it could be larger than REIT. What is different from REIT? The characteristic or different needs? Unlike REIT, low risk, low return. Currently, REIT are moving just like equities, and therefore, the real estate investment, like purchasing real property, and the risk return profile is not like actually purchasing or investing in real estate. Therefore, of course, if you have the cash, you can purchase the property, but rather if a small lot investment is possible, stable middle risk, a middle return to low risk, low return, small lot investment, not much available here in Japan, less than you would imagine. And if security token becomes available, out of the retail savings more than 1,000 trillion yen, it could be either destination of investment, it could be suitable for long-term asset building for retail investors. In that sense, generally, individual retail investors could become the investors because at this moment, REIT investors, it's mainly institutional investors anyway. But possibly, in the real sense, retail investors could manage their asset for low risk, low return purpose. From the perspective of participants, the players, without a huge market, Nomura or Mitsui Fudosan, if there is only a little market to start, there might not be much incentive. So I'm sure here is where there is a significant possibility. And the second point is, in terms of security token, it is the smaller asset or those who did not have much access to capital or financing, but the financing will become more easier. And with the empathy, like support or assistance. But then it's not pure donation. A certain return is expected. It could be 1% or 1.5% return. But it's not donation just because you are a fan. After all, it is an investment. So this is a kind of a hybrid way of attracting investment or creating fan marketing, as Mr. Yagi's diagram showed, to create a popularity for small asset or something unique like tourism destination, sports, baseball teams, different commercial facilities, something like a content asset or special privileges. It's a non-economic return, something special only for the fans. Maybe that could also be returns. My idea is, I used Mitsui Fudosan as an example, but Lala Port facilities in Tokyo or Midtown in central Tokyo, those assets could back these tokens. The return might be as low as 1%, but people can enjoy discount if they shop in the facilities, for example. So together with fan communities and putting in the bank account, it only gives you 0.01% of the return. And then 1% return will be attractive enough. So this kind of hybrid investment, I think, is a possibility. The third category, again, my personal wishful thinking, properties, real estate. It's quite interesting. Of course, it's an object of investment, but properties can be utilized in our lives. Under this coronavirus infection, people are having multiple sites of living or so-called workation, work at home, spending times at multiple places are rising. Traditionally, there were only two options with real estate: either you buy or rent. But rather than only two options, if investment is made in real estate, for example, you can stay for how many days per year on a particular property, so that could be a privilege or a present, or the right to use itself could be tokenized. It, of course, is up to legislation, but instead of just buy or lease, I think there are different options to use real estate, and so there could be a contract or investment instrument in the form of a token that makes different investment possible. About the legislation, I hope I will have the chance to talk about it later. Thank you. Mr. Kobayashi.
Yes, thank you. I am Kobayashi from Securitize. I will be brief in introducing myself. I've been in the finance industry for many years in the US and Europe. I spent 4 years in an investment bank and in other places as well. And then in the payment industry, I entered this January after joining the company Securitize. I would like to also briefly introduce our company Securitize. There are many things to talk about, but they are largely divided into 5. Our vision is this. We want to securitize. We want to digitalize all the securities in the world. And these are features of the company. One is customer track record. The company is young with only 3 years of history, but we already have 100 plus customers. Some of them are still in progress, but these are real customers. I will later be able to show you how wide our coverage is. The second feature is compliance. This is, of course, a given, but this is very important to us. We are the first SEC-registered transfer agent for digital securities. So from the very beginning, we have emphasized the importance of being compliant. The third point is regarding platform being open, and it continues evolving. It is made available to everybody, and already this year, 3 or 4 new features have been added. So constantly, we continue to evolve our platform to meet the market and customer needs. The fourth is that we are global. This covers the platform, ecosystem partners, and markets. We want to provide a platform on a global scale, and we have been able to realize that. When we consider digital securities being borderless and democratizing capital, I think global is another important element. And lastly, I believe Japanese customers in particular have an interest in this area. We are committed to Japan. As you know, many Japanese investors have been supporting us. And based on that, we continue to develop products and solutions that satisfy our local customers. Next slide, please. And now briefly, in the US, who are our customers? I already mentioned that we already have 100 plus customers. They are largely categorized into 4 industries: real estate, investment funds, blockchain, and other sectors. Today's theme, of course, is real estate. And we have many use cases coming in from the US in this industry. To begin with, investment funds and blockchain companies, of course, are where we are seeing STO starting. But since the early stage, real estate companies are also involved in STO in the market. Again, the company only has 3 years of history. In other words, 3 years ago, this kind of activity was non-existent. As of April 1st, we have 100 plus companies. 2017, and we had 2018, we only had 68 customers, and 1 year before that, we only had half of that. So we can see customer is growing at such tremendous speed. And I did not necessarily include in this slide, but as I said before, in the beginning, blockchain companies and investment funds were the first players to start this. They are innovators who are looking to do something new, and they were responsible for building the market for this. And in addition to that, real estate companies, real estate deals added. And on the far right, we have other sectors. So this includes everything. We've been hearing several times about fan marketing. Take that, for example, we have the D-fan shares in the right column. This is to tokenize annual income, annual salaries of professional basketball players. This is a very interesting company. So we are seeing more companies and more sectors coming in. What started from innovators are now being embraced and endorsed by other sectors. And although I may not be able to talk about this, but there is the third step that is expected, which is having large financial institutions entering this space to do STO. So further, the player base is going to expand, and that is what we are seeing. That's all for introducing Securitize and several examples from overseas.
Thank you very much. All the introductions were so interesting. If I may, I would like to ask some questions in the other order of how you spoke, starting with Mr. Kobayashi. In the US, there are increasing use cases, SEC, with the regulators like SEC. Any friction, difficulty, none, smoothly?
Yes, thank you for the question. Since it's about the U.S., this is a hearsay, what I heard from the relevant people. As you know, all of this didn't exist 3 years ago. The first time we went with this topic was 2008. The U.S. 2018. I believe the laws related to securities are not so different between the U.S. and Japan. The laws have existed since 1933, or it was based on the regulations back then. And the new digital solution and platform built on this regulation, how can we explain that in a convincing way? I think that was the most difficult part. The investor information, this is personal information, whether to put that data on a blockchain, that is certainly considered as one risk. Ultimately, the conclusion was to have such data off-chain, but that was one of the topics discussed. In the end, we were able to register as a transfer agent in 2019. If I may add some more, the US SEC is very open to new technology. That's what we were told. So in the overall discussion, I think we were able to have more constructive talks, and the conversations were very positive. That's some feedback that I have received.
Thank you. Since we have just talked about legislation, may I ask lawyer Mr. Narimoto? We have just heard about America. In Japan, about the understanding of technology, how could we ask the authorities, regulators to understand and the current interpretation of the legislation, or how to reinterpret? I think there might be a difficulty by lawyers. Indeed, the FIEA, Financial Instrument Exchange Act, was revised and went into effect as of May 1 of this year. There are some positive aspects as well as areas for further improvement. First of all, According to the Payment and Settlement Act, Japan was the first to control digital currency. The Financial Services Agency was very proactive to deal with new technology. Rather than regulation, I would say it was framework building. Making framework is not only negative sounding like regulation, having a system, then the participating players or the investors, they can enter with a sense of security. Regulation has a positive aspect. So with the revised FIEA, this was a rather stringent revision according to voices I have heard. It has become Article 1, Paragraph 1. Only Class 1 security brokers can handle. But in other words, like Nomura Securities, Mitsui, Fudosan, the players are also established. The market and the instrument traded both are highly reputable, so retail investors may be encouraged to start investment. So the low risk, low return, it could be an instrument suitable for retail investors for their asset building. So there's a positive that the FIEA became more stringent because it would be a barrier to fraudsters or those with malicious intent. But at the same time, for marketing or for the smaller size, what was not easily securitized, by using new technology, maybe the hurdle to access capital might be lowered and made easier. In that regard, the revised act might be a bit too harsh. Up to a certain limit, there could have been a bit more relaxation so that even startups, there could be new entrants who could challenge or going forward under a new framework. The investors' requirement like need 100 million yen or more asset, or that could be relaxed, or the total issue up to 100 million yen. Could it be raised to 300 million, 500 million yen to raise the cap? So retail investors only can invest up to 200,000 yen. But if that is the case, then the regulation can be relaxed. Oki Matsumoto of Manex made the same comment yesterday. The real estate crowdfunding per retailer, it's about 200,000 to 300,000 yen or so. But then a total of collected amount will be hundreds of billions. So somewhere in between the extremely stringent and the relaxed, I look forward to a balanced regulational framework. Then for small size asset or fan token, it would be more easier. Together with technology, there must be careful understanding about the growth potential and the market needs. There must be engagement and dialogue, and I hope that the FSA will continue to think about even better regulation. Thank you. Nomura Securities at Mr. Yagi's company. I understand there are some financial instruments. So creating a new instrument in a new market, but using new technology in a new market, there could be different perspectives in terms of legislation or reinterpretation. Any difficulty or any hurdles that you experienced? In this business of finance, in a certain sense, information technology was introduced much earlier because systems and information technologies are widely utilized. So in non-financial areas, in a robustly secure area, there is the capacity to process large amount of transactions. In this environment, security token or blockchains, to introduce such new technology, that's difficult in terms of information system, technology system, difficult, the transfer of rights, and there's JASTIC, the depositories. But in a certain sense, right at the moment, we do have an established framework. So when something new comes in, of course, the initial hurdle is high, not easy. And there are lots and lots of challenges that need to be resolved going forward.
ありがとうございます。
Thank you.
湯川様の方では過去にもですね、
Mr. Yukawa,
リードが始まった時にいろんなご苦労
when REIT was initiated, I understand you must have had difficulties. You enjoyed advantages as well. So compared to when REIT started, any perspectives?
はい、それでは2点先
Yes, I would like to touch upon two different points. First, what we heard from Narimoto-san earlier also talked about this. In case of REIT, what were we careful about? First of all, trust was most important, and we took great care to ensure trust. Different from securities that are more traditional assets, people may feel that enough information has not been released with regards to real estate. Investors may become suspicious that they do not have all the information. Therefore, trust was quite important, and we chose reliable partners in building REITs. STO is often mistaken with ICO. Of course, the people who are knowledgeable know the difference, but the other laymen view the two as same. So we need to be careful and cautious about sending the right message and right information. The second point is rule building. Rule making is important. In case of REIT, we started with very strict rules making, and that I believe proved right in hindsight. I think the market expanded to today's scale because of the strict rules that gave rise to trust. So investments may not be made initially for small real estate assets, but still utilizing the STO mechanism will present trust. And I think having market endorsement of that will be important. It may be too formal and rigid, but I think this is something positive. In case of REIT, we had the SBC Act that proved to be one turning point. Today, the FSA is also engaged in new rules making. Perhaps we are in the same situation as we found ourselves in the past.
ありがとうございます。
Thank you.
2つキーワードがあって、
There were two keywords:
とそれが民主化という
trust,
ことが2つある。
democratization.
民主化という意味ではブロックチェーンというもの
In terms of democratization,
民主化するということで、
blockchain allows democratization with trust. It's very suitable.
野村さんではいろんな
At Nomura,
会社さんに出資もして、
you contribute to system developers using blockchains. Actual technology has been applied and deployed. So in terms of trust or for democratization, that is different from the existing business. It could be new. So there's the existing business line, and how do you divide your responsibilities? Any challenges?
そういう意味では投資家保護というのはですね、重要
Investor
かなと思ってます。
protection, I think, is the most important. What happened with ICOs, that's where it went wrong, and some incidents occurred, I would say. Therefore, for us to enter this business, it's absolutely necessary to protect investors. Democratization, the traditional common sense, like disclosure rules, do exist. There are legislations established in the past, but in a certain sense, with the spread of internet, in a sense, there's a flood of information. Transparency is rising, which means how to ensure trust. I mean, yes, there are stringent requirements for disclosure rules already, but to revise them from scratch, maybe even that's necessary.
ビジネスとかテクノロジー
Thank
根本的に
you. Rather than it's business or technology, it's a kind of fundamental way of thinking. And the most important fundamental has not changed, so you have not wavered. It's where you focus. The user, the investors, their needs. What do they need in the first place? I think that would be the starting point. Under the FIEA, there are instruments designated, but under the law, they have a limited scope. Investors, whether those are financial instruments, that's not the focus. They have different needs. What do they need? Why do they want to spend money? For what? They have different needs as investors. So on the one hand, there is the law. Rather than looking at the instrument under the law, look at the needs of the investors. I think we have to go back to that important aspect.
非常に
Thank you.
もっと話を伺いたいんですけれども
It's so interesting. I would like to talk more, but it's now time for us to conclude. Thank you very
どうも
much
ありがとうご
indeed.
ざいましたご登壇いただきました皆様に今一度大きな拍手をお願いいたします
Thank you very much. Please give a big hand to all the panelists once again. Thank you.